here for Jay, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm not with the maintenance crew here at the property, and I won't work on your vehicle after our program here today. This is all about assumptions that we make, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Have you ever noticed how it's usually the other person who's the bad driver? I mean, how many people come to work and say, I did the stupidest thing today. I was driving to work, I had to make a left-hand turn, there was oncoming traffic, I hesitated, then I still made the turn, and the oncoming traffic had to slam on their brakes. I almost caused an accident. Do they come to work and say that? No, they're talking about who? The other driver, right? Yeah, that's a common thing. Or maybe you've been driving down the road, minding your own business, and somebody gives you that dirty look like you're a stupid idiot. Has that ever happened? Or some sign language that you're number one? I know a few of you here are thinking, no, Jay, that was me giving the dirty looks in the sign language. Oh, none of you have ever done that? Nobody will admit to it? There's two reasons we get upset when people give us the dirty looks in the sign language. Number one is, sometimes they're right. We make mistakes, right? I mean, how many perfect drivers are in the room? Raise your hand if you're a perfect driver. Okay, stay away from the perfect drivers. We make mistakes in life. We're not perfect. But it's how people communicate that to us that really affects how the results that we get. And so that's an area that I focus on. But the second reason we get upset when people give us the dirty looks in the sign language is that we're not in control. And on the road, when you try to take control and you don't have control, it leads to road what? Rage. And so one of the things I learned early on in life, I lost my mom at 24 years old. 3 months later to the day her dad died, my grandfather. 6 months after that, I lost a good friend to suicide. And I learned that there's a lot of things in life we can't control. If you look at life right now, we can't control politics. We can't control economic factors. We can't control industry trends. We don't have control personally over a lot of factors that play into our daily lives. And so we all wake up, I believe, with a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of gas in our tank or electricity in our batteries if you drive an electric car. And how we use that is really up to us. And I believe it's really important to focus on those things that are within your control and let go of the things that aren't within your control. Because I've talked to so many people over the years who found that they wasted a lot of time and energy on those things they don't control. And they also cause a lot of frustration and difficulty and lost efficiency in organizations. So I'd like you to think for a second, who's the person in your life right now that you like the very least? And I hope you're not sitting next to them. But who's that person that you like the very least? Y'all have an idea who that might be? Now think about one attribute that you respect, admire, or appreciate about them. Can you all come up with? Can you think of something positive about them? Oh, some yes, some no. It could be an ex, it could be a previous boss, it could be a neighbor. There's a lot of options in terms of who that might be. But if you think about that one thing that you respect, admire, and appreciate. And I'll give you an example. I was hired to go speak in Tampa Bay, Florida. And the organization that hired me, there was a gal who was who I knew, and she also showed me around while I was at the conference. And she was telling me about this other board member that she really didn't like. The gentleman was sort of a chauvinist. He wasn't a very good listener. He wasn't good at partnering. And he had some biases that really triggered her and bothered her in many ways. And so we talked about this concept about the person you like the very least, and that's who she was thinking of. And what's the one attribute? Well, later that night, the whole group went on a cruise, and you could bring your family members with. And so this gentleman that she did not like brought his wife and 2 daughters. They were like 8 and 9 years old. And the daughters were so nice and they're so friendly, and I gave them some keychain lights. I would hand out keychain lights at my conferences. And they took the lights, and it was getting dark out, so they could work their way around the boat and see things, shine it on things and people. And at the end of the night, they brought the lights back to me, and I'm like, no, you can keep them. They're like, no, we want to give them back to you. And you could just tell they were the sweetest girls, so kind and generous. And the woman who had hired me to speak at this conference saw his wonderful children. So when she would drive to these events and these board meetings where she ran into this guy, instead of thinking about how he was kind of a chauvinist, how his communication was poor, how he really wasn't that good a partner, what did she think about? His daughters. And so what happened is they didn't get to be best friends, but they got to work a lot more effectively together. It lowered some of the defenses that they each had. It increased their communication, and they were able to communicate better. And so they weren't buddies, but it really made for a better situation. And it didn't rely on him changing. It was her changing what she thought about. So I've always been fascinated by the simple things that we can control that make our lives better instead of putting the onus on the other drivers to make our lives better. I'd like to share a poem with you that kind of illustrates this point, and it's called The Cookie Thief. Maybe some of you have heard it. A woman was waiting in an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book at the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see the man beside her, as bold as he could be, grabbed a cookie or two from the bag between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She read, munched cookies, and watched the clock as this gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking, if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and he broke it in half. He offered her half and he ate the other. She snatched it from him, thinking, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve. Well, he's also rude. Why, he doesn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she had been so galled and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at that thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat, and then sought out her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There were her cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned with despair, and those were his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So next time you're thinking of giving those dirty looks or that sign language to somebody, think twice. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being with you.